On Second Thought, episode 315, brought to you by Hookem.com and our good friends at Bud Light. I'm Cedric Golden, joined here by the Duck, Kirk Bowles. And Duck, if there's a Mount Rushmore of Texas quarterbacks, there are two that we could probably get on the podcast. I don't think Bobby Lane or James Street are going to be available. Love those guys. But, and Vince Young, we just can't get BY. But we got, in my opinion, second best quarterback to ever play at Texas, Colt McCoy, and he is newly inducted into the Texas High School Sports Hall of Fame. Colt, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for letting me join you guys' famous podcast.
Whatever.
Well, man, we're glad to have you.
Hey, we've done a lot. 315 is a lot. It's a lot.
That's right. And Texas and Cedric and I are both on the nominating committee, and we nominated you for the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, and you went in on the first ballot. No surprise at all. So you've come a long way from Jim Ned, haven't you?
Long ways from Buffalo Gap, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you guys for nominating me. I'm extremely honored by the opportunity to go into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. I mean, that wasn't ever really on my radar or a dream of mine, but I'm very thankful for it, for sure.
You know what? You go 34-2 at Tuscola Jim Ned. You go 45-8 at Texas, 79-10 in high school and college. Okay, now let's get to the pros. I mean, okay. Everything that goes up must come down. We got taping this on a Tuesday, and that was the deadline for trade day. A lot of free agent signings, and you were let go by the Cardinals. You're a free agent, and the question that everybody around me wants to know is: Colt McCoy at age 37 still want to play in the NFL?
I think if the opportunity was right, I certainly would play. I'm so thankful for what I've been able to do in the NFL, like play 13 years. This is my 14th season. But I've got to evaluate, my wife and my kids, 4 kids, like where we are as a family. And it was tough to get let go by Arizona. But at the same time, I feel extremely blessed for my time here in Arizona. And if the right opportunity came up for me to go play in the NFL again, which, there's certainly opportunities out there, I would probably do it. But, I'm just praying through a lot of things. And if it's right, it's right. And outside of that, I'm thankful for my health. And I feel very good about kind of where I'm at.
Is the phone ringing, Colt?
Yeah, the phone rings a lot. And I'm flattered by that, to be honest. I went through an elbow surgery over the off season. Really fought through that and got to be healthy. So we'll see. Yeah, I think there's a good chance, but at the same time, like it's going to have to be the right fit and the right opportunity. And I'm evaluating a lot more these days than when I was back in my 5th, 6th, 7th years in the league. So.
I mean, NFL, as we all know, stands not for long. You belie that. I mean, having been around more than a decade, and you've got a great reputation in the league. Everybody knows that, and I'm sure you hear that from coaches all the time. And it can get complicated with politics and contracts and everything like that. But you got to feel happy with your reputation, don't you?
Well, I mean, I worked really hard. But I'd be the first to tell you that it's not just off my hard work that I've got to play and be in the league this long. There's a lot of coaches and a lot of teammates that have crossed paths with that have really helped me along the way. I know the Lord has had his hand in it. And so I'm grateful for all of that. And, if the right opportunity comes, I would think hard about it. But at the same time, I count my blessings when I wake up every day.
And you've got your faculties about you. It's a violent game. You're a father of 4, wonderful wife, Rachel. Coach McCoy still running your camp. Chase, big timing everybody, flying off to the
No
U.S.
question.
when he knew that I was there to talk to him at your camp. I'll deal with him later. Um, if you're done playing football, and Kirk and I have always thought that you could be a head coach in a league because you're a student of the game. You know the business side of it, the good and the bad, and you know people, and that is very important. You're friends with Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell, Sean McVay of the Rams, not far from you in age. So you've got confidants there. Would you ever consider a head coach, not a head coaching, a coaching job, period, in college or in the NFL?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I'm very fortunate with the coaches that I've played for and some of the relationships that you've built in the NFL. That I would have to like switch my mindset from a player to being a coach, but I certainly think it's been beneficial for me to play in, a lot of different offenses. Lots of arrows in my quiver if I ever wanted to go that route. You don't choose that, right? I would love to have just played in one system for a long time, kind of like college. But circumstances in the NFL are very different. And so, yeah, I feel like football is what I've done my whole life, and I love the game. And I still see myself as a student of the game. I'm still learning. I'm doing a little show on the side each week called Scheme, where I break down, a few different things that I'm seeing on tape or whatever, and I really enjoy that side of it. So I think, I'm not shutting the door to any of those things. I would say that, I like watching college football. I like watching NFL. I just like football. So I would hope that I'd have the opportunity to stay around the game in some capacity, when I decide to hang it up, which could be now. Like I really, we'll see what happens. But I'm just grateful for, there's been some ups and downs in the league for sure, but I've lasted a long time, and I know that there's players that have probably been much more talented than me that didn't make it this long, right? So a lot of hard work, a lot of people helping me along the way, a lot of faith, and I'm just thankful for my health. Like I'm waking up right now feeling great, and I hadn't done that in a long time. So
Don't underestimate that.
I'm in a good
not in
place.
November. You haven't, man.
That's right.
You're broke. You're banged up in November by now.
Exactly
Well,
right.
Have people approached you about coaching already on either the college or NFL level?
Yeah, I get asked about that all the time.
Do you?
Yeah, I think it'll just be something I'll have to pray about and think about. And again, like that's a transition or a switch in your mind to be able to do that. And I hadn't really gone there yet, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Man, that faucet. How do you turn that faucet off? You've been playing football since you're 5 years old, and you're a coach's son. At the dinner table, at Christmases, it was football, football, football. Your poor mother. And I'm wondering, here you are 32 years later having to contemplate turning off that faucet. It can't be easy, can it?
No, it's not, right? I mean, I was certainly all in on this season, especially after all the rehab and the hours that you put in. And we had gone into last year in Arizona, with Cliff and our team, and really feeling like the expectations were high and they were high in the building. And we kind of just didn't go our way. Injuries all over the place, decimated us, and then they decided to clean house, and you bring in a new staff and a new front office. And I've obviously been through that transition before, so I kind of had my guard up a little bit, and unfortunately that's kind of what happened for me. And but I'm grateful for my time in Arizona, and if the right opportunity is out there, I would certainly entertain it. And I feel grateful that I've had a lot of calls, but at the same time, it's going to have to be the right thing. I'm not just evaluating myself and do I want to play. I'm evaluating my family and our life and my kids, and
It's got to be a sound
37
money
years
decision.
old, and
Yeah, it's
I
got to
feel
be
good.
money's
Yeah.
got to be right. Colt, money's got to be right. That's just
Yeah.
that's just what it is. And
Yeah.
you're not
Yeah, and
asking for $5 million a year.
You got a family, okay?
You got a family, and risk is risk.
And there's a lot of life outside of football, right? For
Mhm.
everybody, there's going to come a time where the end is closer than the beginning for playing football, and I never dreamed that I'd play for 14 years in the NFL, but I'm
Crazy.
grateful for all of it and the life lessons that I've learned and the things that I've had to go through and the hard work that you put in, and so I've got nothing to be ashamed of. I just got to evaluate, what next is.
Like you say, it's a violent game. You look at what happened. Aaron Rodgers was like third play of the game, and then Kirk Cousins goes down with a
Don't bring
torn
up
Achilles.
Kirk Cousins. That's my fantasy league quarterback.
Oh,
Oh,
Bring
okay.
him up
sorry, man.
on this show. I was
So,
5-2, and now I'm looking at Jaron Hall.
enough of your problems, okay? So, are you watching? Are you watching the games every Sunday, breaking them down? How are your Sundays look?
Yeah, I watch the games, but I mean, I've got my coaching my girls in some volleyball. My son's constantly nagging me to go play catch with the baseball out in the front yard or the football. So I'm in and out. I certainly pay attention. I got a little show that I do on the side, which has been fun, kind of staying engaged. Watch a lot of college football. Saturdays are fun.
Yeah, I
I
bet.
I hadn't really had a chance to do that. My wife and I went back to the Cotton Bowl when we played OU. That was a crazy fun experience.
Classic game.
Uh, yeah, it was, but just the atmosphere, I got to walk through that stadium and sit up in the press box and like not have the jitters, just be a fan, right? And we lost a heartbreaker, obviously, but it was really cool to kind of be back and hear the Texas fans and be in the Cotton Bowl, all the rich tradition that's there, and that was a really cool day.
Well,
You
it's okay for you to go ahead and admit, Colt, that you had no idea that we were forced to work under such rough conditions with those chairs that don't move. They swivel, but they don't roll back. And when you're
Right.
fat like me, uh, getting in that thing is an adventure, to say the least. So you were having
There's
the fun
there's
part on
not
that
there's not
soft
much
grass.
space there. There's
No,
not much
oh,
space there.
an whole
Like, but I
stadium.
think that's the beauty of it, though. I
it's
I
old.
I think that's the
Old.
that's the fun part about it is like everybody who's ever played before you has played there, right? The memories and the games that you remember from there, like, just really cool.
Do you when you're at the OU game, did you watch it as a fan or did you watch it as a quarterback?
Yeah, I don't ever watch a game that I don't watch as a quarterback. It's just too hard. I'm
You're
constantly
breaking it
looking at
down.
fronts and coverages and pressures and who's open and how we're trying to attack their coverages. Like, so I think Sark does a great job. But watching it from the press box, it's a cool view. Like I did some broadcasting last year for the USFL. I thought that was pretty fun. So maybe
Nice.
maybe that's an area that I go after. We'll see. I think right now I'm still in football mode. But we'll see what happens.
I know you've mentored Quinn Ewers and you've been an advisor to him. He's always bringing you and Vince up. How you guys have been so helpful anytime he had questions. What do you think about Malik Murphy? He's going to start on Saturday against K-State. Had his ups and downs in his first appearance. Flashed that big arm. What do you think his upside is, and if Quinn's out for more than a couple more games, do you think he can still hold Texas's water and keep that Big 12 dream alive?
Yeah, I mean, look, guys, I look at it from a fan's perspective, right? Like I have no involvement like with the coach. I mean, I just want him to win, just like you guys. I think Quinn has played great this year. I thought Malik Murphy showed some, really, really good things in the game. Like it's his first start. I mean,
Oh yeah.
for your first start, I thought he played awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's always going to be a little turnover here or mistake here. I think for him to continue to play better, things just got to process things a little bit quicker, right? Like the game's just a little bit faster, right? The rush is going to get there a little bit quicker, right? This things just have to go. You guys just got to speed it up, right? And that, I mean, but that's very, very, very common, right? It's his first start in the middle of the season, right? He hadn't played all year, so I was very encouraged by the way that he played. I think Arch can play too. I think when Quinn comes back, I mean, we have all the pieces run the table. And I just hopefully that's the case, right? For all the fans out there, like all of us.
They're ready. They are ready. When you think about your first start, or your second start was Ohio State, wasn't it?
Ooh, that was rough.
Yeah.
Who was
You
your
should
first
have been
start
out there
against?
covering Anthony Gonzalez, Colt. I mean, that was a problem. That dude was brutal that day. It wasn't again. It was Gonzalez.
I don't know. And we still should have won.
Mm-hmm.
We fumbled on the 1 yard line to go up in the game in the second half.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, my first start was against North Texas, I believe, at home, and then we played Ohio State the second week. But good thing I got a shot at them a few years later. We didn't let that one slip away.
Yeah, you did.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, how nervous were you that first start? I mean, I'm sure you're not thinking, I'm going to start 53 games and have the NCAA record for wins or anything. Do you remember
No.
how fast it went that first game?
Oh yeah, I mean, like I was just going out there to play my best because I knew that there was a really good player behind me, and if I didn't play good, he was going to be out there, right? So that's sort of how I was really solely focused on, playing as good as I could play, right? And I was coming from a small school, and one of the things I've told Arch this year is like, man, nobody wants to redshirt, right? Nobody.
Right.
It's not like the cool thing to do. It's not the popular thing to do. But at the end of the day, like if you're asking me, that was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Wow.
I was able to learn. I was able to grow within the system. I was able to watch and see what it looks like to play in this game, to be on the sidelines every week. And so I knew the challenges that were ahead of me, based on being there for a year and not playing. So, yeah, I mean, I think as your first start, like for Malik, as you're going into play, like, yeah, I thought he did a great job, like great job.
You've been asked a million times about the 09 championship game getting hurt. That was heartbreaking for the fan base, but I'm going to tell you, and I've always said that 2008 was the Mac Brown's second best team. You guys were absolutely loaded on both sides of the field, on both sides. Mm-hmm. You had that defense, Arakpo, Sergio Kendall, Earl Thomas, Roy Miller. I mean, good Lord. And then you had Quan and Ship. So for me, I thought that the 08 represented Texas's second best chance to win a championship. And I believe that a horrific tiebreaker system kept you guys from getting after Tebow and company. How often do you think about 08? Because I know you think about 09 every day, no question. But how often do you think about 08? Because I thought that team that beat Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl was the nuts.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not sure if this is a hot take or not, but I think that the 08 team would have beat the 09 team. I think
it's not hot. It's the truth. It's just
not just off talent alone, but just that we were kind of frustrated with how 2007 ended. That we didn't really play up to our potential. I know personally, I didn't think I did, and so there was just a lot of team building and closeness and unity on that 08 team that we were close. Right. And, I think that definitely helped us in 09 too, but we lost a lot of the good defensive players, and some of the, losing Quan was nobody really replaced him. Right. So it was hard on offense. Right. We had a bunch of young guys trying to step up and pick up the pieces, and we won all our games, but we struggled through some, especially early in the season, trying to figure out our identity. And I often, more than anything, I often think about what would 08 have been like if I would have still had Jamal Charles and Jermichael Finley with that offense. Like that would have been pretty incredible.
That's a point right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, I'm grateful for, my time in college. The other thing I think about is like, I know, the record was 45-8, but there's probably 3 or 4 or 5 of those games that I didn't even finish based off an injury or a concussion, that's what I think about. It's like, man, if I could have just not got hurt at Kansas State, or not got hurt in a national championship game, or finished the game when we were playing Kansas State at home, or whatever it would be. Like, I still feel like we won those games,
Well, the
right? And
A&M,
that's
Michael
that,
Bennett
or
cheap
A&M,
shot.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. A&M, like, we're only down 12-7. Like, there's, I just, the games that I didn't finish that go on your record, those are the hard ones. That's what I
You
think
always
about.
remember the losses more than the wins. Is that? I mean,
But winners do.
For sure.
Winners
the
do.
winners
It hurts.
always, the losses stay with
sure.
you way more than the wins. Wow.
Yeah. And when you think about that 09 game, I mean, that was so big, Colt, as you know, because, and Mac to this day, and I agree with him, thinks, you play that. Sid and I both picked y'all to win. You guys, Nick Saban's punting on his first possession.
Faking a punt.
4th and 10
Faking
from
a
the
punt.
20, faking a punt. I'm sorry. I mean, it's all right there, and who knows how history is rewritten if you don't get hurt, right?
I know, man. You just never know. It's a hard one to live with. Everywhere I go, that's what people want to talk about, right?
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I would have done anything to stay in that game. I've dealt with that injury every day since, right? I still do rehab on that. So it's
Wow.
it was frustrating, but at the same time, like, it's football. Like, we sign up for it, and tragic things happen like that. I've seen so many guys on one play, just their careers are over, right? But
Yeah, just like,
that's this sport, and that's this game. And I'm grateful that I got to play 4 years at the greatest university in the world. And if there was one thing I'd go back and change, it would be that game. But you can't go back in time.
did you know instantly how bad it was when you got hit on that shoulder and
Yeah, I never experienced anything like that. I mean, it was over.
Yeah. It had to be
There's been a lot of guys that have similar injuries to that, and you
Yeah.
never really recover from it. You fight and fight and fight and get it back to functional and manageable.
And it probably hurt you in the NFL, didn't it?
Oh, go ahead, Kirk.
It probably hurt you in the NFL, didn't it? And you took some hits in Cleveland.
Yeah, well, I wasn't ready to play my rookie year in Cleveland. My arm wasn't ready. I was trying to play as a rookie in the NFL and not really given all week of practice because I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. I mean, like, it's not an excuse. It's just that you had to just deal with it, right? And if I'd have come out in 2008, probably would have been a first round pick. So it hurts you in that category too. But I again, guys, these are great to like reminisce on. But I count my blessings every day for the hardships, for the good times. Like, that's what this sport is. It creates character. It builds like your discipline. It builds your emotional capacity, like the wins and the losses and the injuries and the things that you just have to navigate as a man and as a human being. Like, football has done that for me. Like, I feel like I'm seasoned based on all the things that I've had to go through. And not a lot of it's not fun, but that's football.
Yeah, and who knows? If you don't go to Cleveland, you go somewhere else, maybe everything's different, right?
Freaking Cleveland. We mourned that day of the draft. We were like, just not Cleveland. It's back when the Steelers and the Browns were really coming after people. And James Harrison tried to end your career. We remember that. Yeah. But I got to ask you this. So Kirk told me that you and Shipley spoke at his church a few weeks ago. He was on the podcast and told us that you guys nearly missed practice because one of your horses got stuck in a creek. Please tell us that story from your viewpoint.
Oh, man. There's quite a few stories like that, unfortunately.
Y'all are as country as you seem, apparently. You are Cowboys.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, we grew up in a small town. There's not a whole lot to do out in West Texas. You got to find stuff to get into. Yeah, I think it may have been my redshirt freshman year or something, and it was Sunday after a game. And you normally had team meeting Sunday night. You play the game Saturday and kind of off, and if you have an injury or something, come in Sunday morning. If not, there's usually a afternoon, little walkthrough practice, kind of get out the bumps and bruises, the mistakes, and then there's a team meeting. And so we like went out Sunday morning and went and ride horses, and literally we were
Where do you
crossing.
go in Austin to ride a horse?
We were, Ship grew up out in Burnett, so we were.
That's where you're in Burnett. Okay.
We were out in Burnett. He had a couple buddies that had some horses, and so we were just out riding horses. And we had cell phones, but cell phones back then were not like. I mean,
No.
there was no camera phone. There was no. It was still like, I think it was a flip phone, maybe. Yeah, service was bad, and so I just kind of lost track of time. And as we were kind of heading back, we crossed through like a dry creek, but it ended up being pretty muddy in the middle, and my horse just sunk. And like he went across, and I'm stuck. Like we don't have a rope. I could get off and walk, but we're a long ways away from wherever our truck was parked or the house, and I could have jumped on with him, but you can't just leave a horse.
A man doesn't
stuck
leave his
out
horse
there.
behind.
No, never. And so we went through this long process, and in that process, we kind of lost track of time, and ended up missing the meeting that night.
Nice.
Well, there was also a sort of freshman development class that night, hosted by Miss Sally Brown.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was
Cookies,
all
I'm sure.
a
Yeah, cookies. Yeah, always cookies.
right, yeah, and it was like an etiquette class where you go and you like a fine dining, like which side your forks and your spoons are on, and which drink to drink out of first, and all the things that a guy from West Texas has no idea about. And so I sort of remember I've already missed the meeting, and I know I'm going to hear about that. So I have Jordan just drop me straight off at the fine dining sort of etiquette class. And I walk in with just like mud all over me, like mud on my boots. Like I'm trying to clean up, and some of the other guys in my class look at me like, bro, where have you been? Like, you're in so much trouble. And Miss Sally looks at me and just kind of gives me one of those like, I'll pretend like I didn't see you. And I sat down and went through the meal, and Coach Brown calls me and says, "Can you come by my office?" And I'm like, "Yep." And so I go, and he's like, "Where were you?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, Coach. My horse got stuck in the mud."
He hadn't heard that one.
What? He says, "Excuse me?" I was like, "Yeah, we were just out riding. And why were you riding horses? We just played a game yesterday." Like, I mean, we were just, I thought it was a good idea. I'm sorry that I missed. And, after a lot of disciplinary actions that he placed upon me, he basically said, "Don't you ever be late for any of my meetings, and don't ever come back and tell me that your horse was stuck in the mud."
He didn't believe you. He didn't believe you.
I don't know if he believed me or not, but I'm a God-fearing man. I tell the truth, and that's exactly what happened.
You got a one-time
said
pass.
your dog ate your homework. I mean, he probably would have bought that one.
I don't know. Two country boys. I bet he believed it. I bet he believed it. So
all I know is he was not happy. I know that for a fact.
You didn't think he was going to kick you off the team. You weren't that worried.
I was nervous. I was very nervous. I didn't know what I've never missed a meeting before, right? I was one of those deals. And Burnett's not like right next door. That was like an hour away.
Down the street. You know what it's like to be on Mac's bad side because you played for him for 5 years, but you didn't. But you won a lot of games. Imagine being us. I mean, we're still on his bad side, and we haven't seen him in 8 years. So,
you don't want to be on Coach Brown's bad side. I know that.
We know.
Yeah. Well, man, we are so glad we hooked up with you, man. You are royalty for every Longhorn and class act, and it's just been a pleasure for us to talk to you and to cover your career because you were as good as it got.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm thankful for my time there, and appreciate you guys covering the team for so long. And as a fan now, I hope that we can figure out a way to punctuate this season. It would be awesome to see them figure out how to win the Big 12 on their way out, wouldn't it?
Yes,
They're as talented as '09. They have a lot of boxes checked, and
Yeah.
they just need to get their quarterback back and don't run into any upsets, because Big 12 is always a minefield, you know that, and we think that they have the opportunity, and man, we're tired of going to the Alamo Bowl. I know that, and be nice to take a plane ride to a bowl game. Like
that would be nice.
y'all all your teams always used to take plane
Right.
rides. Cold. We missed those.
Right.
We missed
Well,
those.
Rose Bowl was fun.
Rose Bowls are fun. We hope to see you on the field again before your career is over. Want you to retire on your own terms, and look forward to seeing you in Waco at the Hall of Fame banquet.
April
Rich,
30th.
All right.
Tickets.
I'll be there. Thank you again for everything, and yeah, I look forward to that. That's a huge honor, and I'm proud of that.
Hey, Coach, say hi to the old man and tell Case. Tell Case I'm looking for him.
Okay.
All right,
Sounds
man.
good.
Later.
Thank you,
All right.
Cole. Take care.
See you guys.
Congratulations.